What's going on, boys and girls, and welcome back to Nth-Level Entertainment, the premier geek and car culture YouTube channel of South Africa. I am your host, Chadwick. Before I continue, I would like to express my sincerest apologies for the appalling audio editing on the last video. Please take my word for it, this will not happen again. I've been struggling with the laptop I'm currently using in terms of my Adobe Premiere Pro software using up more resources than it's able to handle. But I have found a workaround, so that shouldn't be happening again. So on with today's video.
Look at these people, James. I'm ready. You know what I mean? When is it gonna be when we up there?
We'll be back in 10 to flip me again. Woo, yeah!
Okay, get on up. This is a movie that was about the life and times of James Brown. It was a very interesting movie in the way that it was shot and actually put together in editing and all that. In that, it doesn't follow, or at least it doesn't seem to follow a linear timeline as far as, when he was young to when he was old. It seems to jump around in terms of that timeline at different points in his life. We start off when he's basically towards the end of his career, or rather the most recent times of his career as we know him now. And then it goes back to, flashbacks of how things were when he was growing up, what kind of home life he had. It was a very dysfunctional one from what I saw. We saw his mother, who I think was played by Viola Davis, if I'm not mistaken. And she had a very, tumultuous relationship with her husband or boyfriend or whoever that man was. I'm not even sure if he was actually the biological father of James Brown. But yeah, he played a father figure who his mother eventually had to leave because the relationship was very abusive. And he stayed in the care of his father, who continued to abuse him. And I think that's part of where he developed his very resilient attitude. He was very stubborn. He always stood up to adversity and bullying and things like that. And some of it was also based on what his mom taught him. We saw a scene between the two of them when they were walking through like a forest or whatever it was. It was kind of like a wilderness kind of area, which I think was also the area that they stayed in. Some may call it a trailer park perhaps, And he was complaining about being hungry, and she convinced him that, hunger is just basically the devil trying to distract you from being a good boy, because you're a good boy. And that was obviously some sort of an affirmation for resilience that she was teaching him. And so yeah, we went back and forth in the timeline. Now, I'm also not going to be able to keep order as well in this review because the movie, didn't help me much in that regard. So one of the opening scenes though was quite badass. It was quite an establishing kind of thing to show you the type of no-nonsense person that James Brown was. Like we see him at I think it was like a record office or something along those lines that he owned, and one of his associates was, I think, doing a tour or some sort of a business talk to people that were there, and he discovered that somebody took a dump in his toilet, and he went and got his shotgun and made a big scene about it, wanting to find out who it was that actually did that. And but eventually he actually told the woman, look, it's cool. He saw an opportunity and he took it, there's no other way to live, he says, So that's one of the things that show you how much of a badass he is. And then I think one of the next opening scenes soon to follow after that was him flying into a war zone with his band, simply because he was not going to allow the ongoing war in that area to deter him from actually doing his performance for the troops to uplift morale, So yeah, James Brown was quite the badass, It was quite an interesting take on who he was as, a Black American hero in that sense, because they were all heroes in whatever context they were professional at, like Jackie Robinson in the movie before this one. He was a Black American hero in the sports arena, and James Brown was the same musically. We also got to see Dan Aykroyd in this film. Haven't seen Dan Aykroyd in a very long time. One of my favorite comedic actors. And he played, I think it was his manager a Jewish fellow. I forget the character's name. Unfortunately, just like with 42, I'm not very much familiar with James Brown's history, so I don't know all of the supporting characters involved. I'll probably learn a lot more about it after this review. But yeah, he played his role quite well. Someone who actually stood by James Brown until the bitter end, well, his bitter end at least, and he actually passed away. And James Brown was quite hurt by that. You could see how he took it in the funeral scene. But it was a very interesting film. I spent most of it actually laughing my ass off because Chadwick portrayed the role so accurately in terms of James Brown's mannerisms and nuances in his behavior and his speech pattern as well, which is one of the famous traits of who James Brown is. It just reminded me of the Eddie Murphy stand-up comedy shows that I grew up watching, of how Eddie Murphy used to actually imitate James Brown and that broken, sort of country African-American English that he would always speak in where you could barely hear what he's talking about. And I remember in that very bit that Eddie Murphy was doing on stage, he was actually talking about how his band would always struggle to understand what James is actually saying when he gives them an instruction. They delve into some of those things in the movie as well, which I found hilarious. I mean, not to say that I was laughing at it because James Brown is a joke or Chadwick Boseman looked funny doing it. It was more like Chadwick Boseman was so accurate in that portrayal that I couldn't help but laugh because James Brown himself was funny when he did those things, But it was just more testament to Chadwick Boseman's acting chops. You know what I'm saying? That he was, so accurately able to portray that role. When he played in his younger years, the acting was on point, but I think as far as casting is concerned, it was hard to immediately assume that that's James Brown because I think their features, Chadwick Boseman and James Brown are so dissimilar that he wasn't like a shoe-in visually for the character, but he really brought the character to life through his performance, especially when they put on extra facial prosthetics to his face to actually make him look more like what James Brown looks like today. So it was a great film. It was very inspiring. We saw James Brown's reaction to Martin Luther King getting shot and all the civil uprising that happened after that, and his insistence to still play Madison Square Garden just to try and quell the unrest that was being experienced racially, and the way he actually tried his best to reach out to black people and get them to still hold their heads up high, when they would keep bum rushing the stage and police officers were fighting them off, but then he was basically appealing to the police officers like, no, let me get through to them. I figure I can get respect from my own people in a time like this when we need to be united, is along the lines of what he said to them, and then he continued the concert. It was a very inspiring movie, just like what 42 was, and just like I said in the video before this one, it seems as though Chadwick Boseman really was destined to play T'Challa ultimately because he seemed to always land these iconic roles, of people who are iconic as far as Black history and Black consciousness and things like that. People who you could, without a doubt, call Black heroes. That seems to be all he played, So yeah, on that front, obviously as a geek, I was taken in by that archetype of the storytelling. But it in and of itself was a good movie as well, very well shot. I will say though that there's a lot of moments that the movie actually touched on that it didn't eventually pay off in terms of story development and character development. It made some of the parts not make sense. We didn't understand some of the motivations of certain characters, James Brown included. There was a moment where he actually had an argument with Bobby, I think it was Bobby Frey, the guy who actually got him started in music. And he said, nobody helps James Brown. James Brown helps himself, And, if the story was narratively paid off in such a way as to let the audience understand his motivations for saying that, I think it would have went over a bit better because it made him seem like a bit of an arrogant, selfish asshole. Because as we're watching the movie, us as the audience saw him getting a lot of help. I mean, from Bobby himself and the rest of the band. And and other people that were there, like Dan Aykroyd's character, people who were there to help him along his journey. So it kind of made him, what's the word? Like sort of like unforgivable, so to speak, as a character. That could have been done a little bit better. But on the whole, that's my only critique. It was a great movie. It was really inspiring. Just like the movies that he tends to end up in. So yeah, that's gonna be it for me. What did you guys think of this movie? If you've seen it, comment below. Let us know how you felt. And if you enjoyed this video, please click on the thumbs up icon and leave us a like. And if you'd like to see more, please click subscribe and be sure to click on the bell icon so you are notified each and every time I drop new content on this here channel. Until then, people, thank you very much for hanging out with me for a little bit. I have been Zwelethwa Mahlangu, and as usual, stay awesome, people. Take care of each other and stay chasing your dreams. Wakanda forever.